The bullies grabbed Jasmine, the new black girl, from behind while the ringleader, Amber, approached with the scissors. With a series of quick cuts, chunks of Jasmine's hair fell to the bathroom floor. "Now everyone will see you don't belong here," Amber laughed, holding up a fistful of Jasmine's hair like a trophy. Jasmine looked small and scared. Her lower lip trembled and her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please, please stop. Look how scared she is. What a loser." Mackenzie added, filming the whole thing for their private group chat. Jasmine stared at her reflection at the hair she'd grown for 3 years now scattered on the floor. It's time these bullies learn that actions have consequences. The war had begun, and Amber Richards and her friends had no idea what was coming for them. It's time to take revenge. As we start this story, if you stand against and don't support bullies, click the subscribe button and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. A busy high school hallway at Westridge High, the kind where social status is everything and newcomers are sized up within seconds. That's where this story begins, with 17-year-old black girl, Jasmine Walker, navigating her first day as the new girl. She walked with her head down, books clutched tightly to her chest, trying to blend into the background. A skill she'd mastered after moving schools twice in the past 2 years. But blending in isn't always an option when you've caught the attention of Amber Richards and her posse. As Jasmine rounded the corner toward her locker, a perfectly timed shoulder check from Amber sent her books scattering across the polished floor. The hallway fell silent as Amber's laughter echoed off the lockers. "Oh look, fresh meat," Amber announced, flipping her blonde hair as her 3 friends, Mackenzie, Taylor, and Vanessa, formed a semicircle around the fallen books. Students nearby suddenly found other places to be, scurrying away like mice when a cat enters the room. Jasmine knelt to gather her things, her eyes briefly flashing with something that didn't match her timid posture, a controlled fury that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Anyone paying close enough attention might have noticed the way her hands steadied, how her breathing remained calm despite the humiliation. "Maybe you got lost?" Amber said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "The public school is across town." Her friends snickered on cue, like they'd rehearsed this routine dozens of times before. Which of course they had. Jasmine collected the last of her papers, stood up, and looked Amber directly in the eyes. "I'll remember you," she said quietly, a mysterious smile playing at the corners of her mouth. For just a second, Amber's confidence wavered. Something about that smile felt off. But the moment passed, and Amber shrugged it off as the bell rang. What Amber and her friends didn't know, what nobody at Westridge High knew, was exactly who they'd just messed with. That evening, in the modest rental home she shared with her father, Jasmine unpacked the last of her boxes. Beneath layers of clothes and books were the trophies, regional MMA championship trophies that she carefully placed in the back of her closet, hidden from view. In her last 2 schools, her fighting abilities had become public knowledge. At the first, she'd been celebrated. At the second, feared and isolated after defending herself too effectively against a group of boys who wouldn't take no for an answer. The basement had been converted into a small home gym, where Jasmine now stood before a heavy punching bag. Her transformation was immediate and complete. Gone was the shy, awkward new girl. Her stance widened, her shoulders squared, and her fists became precision instruments. Each punch landed with expert control, each kick demonstrated years of disciplined training. The chains holding the bag creaked under the force of her strikes. Her father appeared at the bottom of the stairs, watching with pride and concern. Staff Sergeant James Walker had raised his daughter alone after his wife's death, bringing her with him through 3 military reassignments. He'd taught her to fight when she was just 8 years old, never imagining she'd become better than her teacher. "Remember our promise," he said, his deep voice filling the basement. No fighting at the new school, no matter what. Jasmine paused, breathing hard. I know, Dad. I'm serious, Jas, after what happened at Lincoln High. You need to blend in this time, her father continued. No drawing attention with your abilities. Give yourself a chance at a normal high school experience for once. I know, Dad. I'll act like everyone else, Jasmine assured him, even as she threw one final punch that broke the chain holding the bag, sending it crashing to the floor. They both stared at it, then burst into laughter. Maybe dial it back a bit more than that. Her father chuckled. The next day in PE class, Jasmine executed her blend-in strategy to perfection. When the volleyball came her way, she fumbled dramatically, her coordination suddenly that of a newborn giraffe. She tripped over her own feet during sprints and couldn't manage a single push-up, despite the defined muscles hiding beneath her baggy clothes. Her classmates exchanged glances that ranged from pity to amusement, exactly the reaction she needed. Nobody suspects the clumsy girl. Meanwhile, Amber Richards and her inner circle ruled Westridge High like it was their personal kingdom. All daughters of the town's wealthiest families, they moved through the school with an untouchable aura. Mackenzie Chen, social media queen with 200K followers, documenting her perfect life. Taylor Wilson, the team captain whose father donated the school's athletic center. Vanessa Peterson, whose mother sat on the school board and whose only personality trait was agreeing with Amber. And leading them all, Amber Richards, daughter of the biggest real estate developer in the county and niece of the superintendent. Her word was law, her approval was currency, and her displeasure was a death sentence to anyone's social life. They even had their own designated spot in the cafeteria. A ridiculous arrangement of chairs stacked and positioned to resemble thrones, assembled daily by intimidated freshmen seeking protection from being targeted. Principal Johnson walked past this clear violation of safety rules every day, offering nothing more than a nervous smile. Did you hear what happened to Eliza from last semester? A quiet voice whispered to Jasmine during lunch. A friendly-looking boy with glasses had taken the risk of sitting next to her. She was their target before you arrived, had to transfer schools after they spread rumors she had an STD. Complete lie, but it didn't matter. And the school did nothing? Jasmine asked. The boy, Ethan, just laughed bitterly. They never do, not when it's Amber's group. They're untouchable. For 2 weeks, Jasmine maintained her cover perfectly. She stumbled in hallways when they approached. She dropped her tray when Amber made eye contact in the cafeteria. She averted her eyes and hunched her shoulders when they passed, playing the role of terrified new girl flawlessly. Every microaggression, every accidental shove, every whispered comment, she logged them all in her memory while outwardly appearing to crumble. She's pathetic, Amber commented to her friends as they watched Jasmine pretend to struggle with her locker combination. I almost feel bad. Almost. Time to up our game, though. She's too easy. That afternoon, they cornered Jasmine in the second-floor bathroom, the one with the broken security camera that everyone knew about, but no one had fixed. 4 against 1, they blocked the door as Amber pulled something from her designer backpack. A pair of scissors that gleamed under the fluorescent lights. You know, your hair is the only decent thing about you, Amber said, twirling the scissors. But it doesn't really fit in here, does it? Jasmine felt a flash of genuine anger surge through her body. Her hands instinctively curled into fists, her stance shifting subtly into fighting position. For one dangerous moment, she imagined how easily she could take all 4 of them down. Instead, she forced herself to hunch, to look small and scared. She made her lower lip tremble and her voice crack as she whispered, "Please, please don't." The performance only excited them more. Taylor grabbed Jasmine from behind while Amber approached with the scissors. With a series of quick cuts, chunks of Jasmine's hair fell to the bathroom floor. Now everyone will see you don't belong here. Amber laughed, holding up a fistful of Jasmine's hair like a trophy. "Look how scared she is." "What a loser," Mackenzie added, filming the whole thing for their private group chat. They left Jasmine there, surrounded by pieces of her hair, their laughter echoing down the hallway. The moment the door closed behind them, something changed. Jasmine straightened to her full height, her eyes clear and focused, no sign of tears. Her hands stopped trembling. She looked at her reflection, the choppy, uneven hair, and her expression hardened. With a controlled movement that would have shocked anyone who had seen her fumbling in PE class, Jasmine drove her fist into the metal stall door. The impact left a perfect dent in the shape of her knuckles. The metal warped like it had been hit with a hammer rather than a teenage girl's hand. She pulled out her phone and called her father. "Dad," she said, her voice completely transformed from the meek whisper she'd been using at school. "I've kept my promise, but I can't do this anymore." She stared at her reflection, at the hair she'd grown for 3 years now scattered on the floor. It's time they learn actions have consequences. The war had begun, and Amber Richards had no idea what was coming for her. Have you ever dealt with bullies who thought they were untouchable? Share your experience in the comments and based. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss the next part of this story, where Jasmine starts planning the perfect revenge. The weekend after the bathroom incident gave Jasmine time to think. She sat in her bedroom Saturday morning, staring at her reflection, running her fingers through what remained of her hair. Her father had taken her to a salon the previous evening, where a sympathetic stylist had transformed the choppy mess into a short, stylish cut that framed her face beautifully. It wasn't what she would have chosen, but it worked. "You actually look more like a fighter now," her father had commented on the drive home, his voice a mixture of pride and concern. Jasmine hadn't responded. She was already plotting. By Sunday afternoon, Jasmine had spent hours researching her tormentors online. It was amazing what people revealed about themselves on social media, especially entitled teenagers who believed themselves untouchable. Amber's Instagram was a carefully curated showcase of wealth and status. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, parties at her family's lakeside mansion. But it was her story's highlights that provided the most valuable information. Annual Queen Bee Pool Party. Read one collection. Jasmine tapped through dozens of photos from previous years, an elaborate gathering held at Amber's family estate where the pool area was transformed into what looked like a high-end resort. Everyone who mattered at Westridge High was there, dressed in expensive swimwear, documenting every moment for their followers. 2 weeks until the ultimate summer kickoff, read Amber's most recent post. Invitation only. Don't even think about asking if you haven't received one already. Jasmine smiled. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Monday morning, Jasmine arrived at school with her new haircut and the same calculated demeanor. Eyes down, shoulders hunched, the perfect image of someone trying to be invisible. But now she was watching, cataloging, planning. She noticed how students parted for Amber's group in the hallway, how teachers gave them extra leeway, how even the maintenance staff seemed to know to stay out of their way. She also noticed who else they targeted. During lunch period, while pretending to struggle with her milk carton, Jasmine observed Amber's group surrounding a lanky boy with glasses at the far end of the cafeteria. Even from a distance, she could see the discomfort on his face as they laughed, one of them knocking his lunch tray so that milk spilled across his laptop. The boy hurriedly packed up his things and fled, his face burning with humiliation. Jasmine followed him, keeping her distance until he ducked into the science lab. Through the small window in the door, she watched as he carefully dried his computer, muttering to himself. When she entered, he quickly straightened up, shoving his glasses back up his nose. "Came to finish the job?" he asked warily. "Actually, I came to help," Jasmine said, dropping her meek act for the first time at school. "I'm Jasmine. I know who you are. You're their new favorite target." He turned back to his laptop. "Congratulations." "And you are?" He hesitated. Ethan Morris." "Nice to meet you, Ethan Morris." She glanced around the empty lab. "You spend a lot of time in here?" "It's safer than anywhere else." He gestured to his damp shirt. "Usually." Jasmine nodded toward his laptop. "Will it survive?" "It'll be fine. I waterproofed it after the first accident last semester." He made air quotes around the word accident. Jasmine leaned against the lab bench. "They seem to have a problem with you." "They have a problem with anyone black and smarter than them, which is most people." Ethan's voice was bitter but resigned, especially if that person has corrected Amber in chemistry. Twice. "You're good at chemistry then?" Ethan finally looked up, a flicker of pride cutting through his wariness. "I'm excellent at chemistry. I've been the state science fair winner for 3 years running." Jasmine's expression shifted subtly, something calculating entering her eyes. "How good are you with reactions? Things that might, say, cause a visible but harmless change in someone's appearance." Ethan stared at her, confusion giving way to understanding. "What exactly are you asking me?" "I need something that will make a statement without causing harm." Jasmine stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Can you help? Why would I risk making myself an even bigger target?" "Because you're already a target. We both are. But what if we could change that?" Jasmine held his gaze. "What if we could make them think twice about messing with anyone ever again?" For a long moment, Ethan just looked at her, weighing his options. Finally, his posture changed, curiosity overtaking caution. "What exactly do you have in mind?" Jasmine smiled. "Something memorable and colorful." The next afternoon, after ensuring they weren't being watched, Ethan led Jasmine to a storage room connected to the science lab. Inside, shelves were lined with carefully labeled containers and equipment that clearly didn't belong to the school. "My own little research space," Ethan explained, turning on an additional light. "Mr. Brennan lets me use it, as long as I follow proper safety protocols and help with inventory." In the corner stood a locked cabinet, which Ethan opened to reveal what looked like a sophisticated chemistry set. "This is my science fair project from last year. I've been improving it." "What does it do?" Jasmine asked, leaning in for a closer look. "Originally, it was designed to detect harmful chemicals in swimming pools." Ethan's voice took on an animated quality, his earlier nervousness forgotten. "It creates a visible color change when it interacts with certain compounds, chlorine levels, pH imbalances, that kind of thing." He pulled out a small vial of clear liquid. "But I discovered something interesting during testing. The compound reacts differently with certain types of cosmetic chemicals, specifically the ones found in high-end beauty products." "What kind of reaction?" A smile spread across Ethan's face. Not the timid expression he wore in the hallways, but something almost mischievous. "It creates a temporary but extremely noticeable color change in skin. The effect is completely harmless. No irritation, no damage. But it can last for up to 2 weeks, depending on the concentration." "What color?" Jasmine asked, already imagining the possibilities. "That's the best part." Ethan held up the vial. "I can manipulate the resulting color. Red, blue, green, but my personal favorite is purple. A very bright, very unmistakable purple. And there's no way to remove it? Not without specialized equipment. Regular soap actually intensifies the effect. And the more expensive the product it reacts with, the more dramatic the color." He tilted his head. "The kinds of products Amber and her friends would use." Jasmine's expression shifted into a slow, satisfied smile. "Ethan, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Over the next few days, they tested the compound carefully. Ethan had created small batches with different chemical properties, documenting how each reacted with samples of various beauty products. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a droplet of purple forming on a testing plate. This is what happens when it interacts with Luxe Radiance Moisturizer, Amber's favorite brand. She was showing it off in gym class yesterday. How long before the reaction is visible? Jasmine asked, watching the purple intensify. About 3 to 4 hours at body temperature, Ethan explained. The reaction starts slowly, then accelerates, especially with exposure to water. Water like a swimming pool? Exactly like a swimming pool. Chlorinated water dramatically speeds up the process and intensifies the color. Ethan's eyes lit up behind his glasses. It would start as a light tint that they might not notice right away, then gradually become more obvious, especially once they get in the pool. Jasmine nodded thoughtfully. And you're absolutely sure it's safe? No allergic reactions? No damage to their skin? Completely safe. I tested it on myself last semester. He pulled up his sleeve to reveal a faint discoloration that was almost gone. See? And that was a much stronger concentration than what we'd use. It just looks dramatic, like being stamped with an invisible ink that gradually appears. Perfect, Jasmine said, her mind racing. Now we just need to figure out how to get them to use it. The opportunity presented itself sooner than expected. During lunch on Thursday, Mackenzie was loudly discussing the upcoming pool party. Amber's parents are going to Aspen that weekend, so we'll have the entire estate to ourselves, she boasted to a group of eager listeners. We're getting special gift bags for all the guests, only the best products, of course. Jasmine, sitting within earshot but keeping her head down, caught Ethan's eye across the cafeteria. A plan was forming. That afternoon, Jasmine accidentally encountered Amber in the hallway, dropping her books yet again. As she scrambled to pick them up, appearing flustered, she left a glossy beauty magazine open to a specific page talking about a new beauty product sold around the school so Jasmine could easily see it. The Saturday of Amber's pool party arrived with perfect sunny weather. Jasmine had spent the morning strategically positioning herself at the upscale mall, where she knew Amber would be making last-minute party preparations. The timing had to be perfect. As Amber exited the high-end boutique with shopping bags in hand, Jasmine deliberately bumped into her, making it seem accidental. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Jasmine said, maintaining her meek persona. She quickly bent down to help Amber gather the items that had spilled. "Watch where you're going," Amber snapped, then narrowed her eyes in recognition. "What are you even doing here? This isn't exactly discount store territory." Jasmine averted her gaze. "Just looking. There's this new skincare line everyone's talking about." She trailed off, then added with practiced hesitation, "Not that it matters to me, but I heard celebrities use it before events. Something about how it makes skin look amazing in photos, especially in water." Amber's interest was immediately piqued. "What's it called?" "Aqua Lumiere. It's at that pop-up by the fountain. Super exclusive." Jasmine shrugged. "Not that I'd be invited to any pool parties to try it out." The bait was set perfectly. Within 15 minutes, Amber had purchased the entire stock of elegantly packaged, exclusive French beauty products, actually containing Ethan's carefully formulated purple-inducing compound. As an added bonus, she was overheard telling the salesperson to prepare gift bags for her special guests. From a safe distance, Jasmine watched the transaction unfold exactly as planned. She texted Ethan immediately. Mission accomplished. She bought everything, even getting extras for her friends. "Perfect timing," came his reply. "The compound should start reacting about 2 hours after application, with peak color at hour 4. Later that afternoon, Jasmine positioned herself at a cafe across from Amber's sprawling mansion. Through social media updates, she watched the party unfold in real time. Amber's Instagram story showed her and her 3 friends applying their exclusive pre-pool treatment in Amber's marble bathroom. "Did they use it?" Ethan texted anxiously. "All of them. Generously," Jasmine replied with a satisfied smile. The pool party was in full swing by 3 p.m. Approximately 30 of Westridge High's elite were gathered around the Olympic-sized pool, music blasting across the manicured lawn. Amber and her inner circle held court on elevated loungers, occasionally dipping into the water to cool off in the afternoon heat. Around 4:30, Jasmine noticed a slight change in the atmosphere. Through her phone's zoom, she could see one of the boys pointing at Mackenzie, a confused expression on his face. Mackenzie touched her cheeks, looking perplexed. Within minutes, Taylor was frantically checking her reflection in her phone, her expression shifting from confusion to horror. "What's happening to my skin?" The shriek was loud enough to be heard even from Jasmine's position across the street. Chaos erupted as all four girls realized they were steadily turning purple. Amber rushed to a poolside mirror, her face contorting in horror as she saw the unmistakable violet tint spreading across her skin. Panicked, she began rubbing at her face, which only accelerated the reaction. "It's turning purple," she screamed. "Make it stop." In their panic, Mackenzie jumped into the pool, a fatal mistake. When she emerged, the chlorinated water had intensified the reaction tenfold. She was now a vibrant shade of violet from head to toe. The other guests backed away, phones raised to capture the unfolding catastrophe. Vanessa burst into tears, leaving purple streaks down her face as her expensive makeup mingled with the chemical. Party attendees alternated between shocked silence and barely suppressed laughter. "Oh my God, you look like Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka," someone shouted, causing a wave of laughter to sweep through the crowd. Within 30 minutes, the carefully planned social event had devolved into complete disarray. Guests were rushing to leave, not wanting to be associated with whatever was happening to the hosts. All four girls were now distinctly, undeniably purple, their frantic attempts to wash off the color only making it more vibrant. As the party dissolved into chaos, videos were already being uploaded, shared, and reposted across every social platform. Purple princesses began trending locally by dinner time. "I think our work here is done," Jasmine texted Ethan, attaching a perfectly framed photo of all four purple bullies huddled in misery by the pool. "Beautiful," he replied. "Just wait until they try to cover it with makeup." Monday morning at Westridge High was electric with excitement. The videos had spread like wildfire over the weekend, with remixes, edits, and memes multiplying by the hour. Not surprisingly, none of the four bullies showed up for class. The hallways buzzed with speculation and barely contained laughter. Someone had taped purple handprints to their lockers. The cafeteria table where they had once reigned supreme remained conspicuously empty. The purple-skinned bullies finally returned to school. Despite their best efforts with makeup, the vibrant violet tint remained stubbornly visible on their skin. They walked through the hallways with hoodies pulled up and heads down, a dramatic reversal from their usual confident strut. The whispers and barely concealed laughter followed them everywhere. Someone had stuck purple heart stickers on their lockers. Another student had changed their class presentation background to a gradient of violet shades. The humiliation was inescapable. By lunchtime, Amber's embarrassment had transformed into rage. She spotted Jasmine sitting alone at a cafeteria table, calmly eating her sandwich. "You!" Amber shouted, storming across the cafeteria with her three purple-tinted friends following behind. The room fell silent as students sensed the coming confrontation. Phones were quickly raised to record whatever was about to happen. Jasmine hunched her shoulders slightly, maintaining her weak act as Amber slammed her hands down on the table. "You did this to us," Amber hissed, her purple face contorted with fury. "Fix it, now." Jasmine blinked up at her innocently. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice deliberately timid. "Don't play dumb." Mackenzie joined in, stepping closer. "We know you and that science freak Ethan are behind this. We look like freaks because of you." Jasmine shook her head, looking convincingly terrified. "I really don't." Without warning, Amber grabbed Jasmine's water bottle and dumped it over her head. "Maybe this will help you remember how to fix our skin." The cafeteria collectively gasped. Jasmine sat there, water dripping down her face, looking startled and vulnerable. For a moment it seemed like the old dynamic was reasserting itself, the powerful bullies dominating their chosen target. Amber, emboldened by Jasmine's apparent weakness, grabbed her by the arm. "Get up! You're coming with us until you tell us how to fix this." Jasmine appeared to stumble as she was pulled to her feet, accidentally stepping on Amber's foot in the process. "Ow!" Amber shoved Jasmine hard, sending her staggering backward. "You clumsy." Taylor grabbed Jasmine's other arm. "Not so fun being cornered, is it?" she sneered. The bullies had formed a circle around Jasmine, who looked small and frightened, eyes darting between them. Students gathered around, some looking concerned but none intervening. "I tried to keep my promise, Dad," Jasmine whispered, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. Then everything changed. Jasmine straightened up, her entire demeanor transforming in an instant. Her shoulders rolled back, her stance widened slightly, and the fear vanished from her eyes, replaced by calm focus. "Show's over," she said, her voice completely different, confident, steady, controlled. The sudden change confused the bullies momentarily. Amber recovered first, swinging her arm to slap Jasmine across the face. In one fluid motion, Jasmine caught Amber's wrist mid-swing, redirected her momentum, and used a simple hip toss to send her sprawling onto an empty lunch table. Amber landed with a crash, food trays scattering. The cafeteria erupted in shock. Mackenzie charged forward, only to have Jasmine sidestep gracefully, extend her foot, and send her tumbling to the floor with her own momentum. "What the?" Taylor started, backing up slightly. Vanessa, panicking, grabbed a lunch tray and swung it wildly. Jasmine blocked it with her forearm, then used a sweeping leg movement to take Vanessa's feet out from under her. As Vanessa fell, she slipped on spilled milk, landing in an ungraceful sprawl. Taylor, seeing her friends taken down so easily, tried to rush Jasmine from behind. Without even looking back, Jasmine sensed the approach, ducked at the perfect moment, and used Taylor's forward motion to flip her over her shoulder. Taylor landed with a thud on the cafeteria floor, the wind knocked out of her. The entire confrontation had taken less than 15 seconds. Amber struggled to her feet, face flushed with a mixture of rage and humiliation beneath the purple tint. She charged at Jasmine again, throwing a wild punch. Jasmine caught her arm and immobilized her with a precise joint lock, bringing Amber to her knees. "I could hurt you," Jasmine said quietly, "but unlike you, I don't need to cause pain to feel powerful." The cafeteria was dead silent, students and faculty frozen in shock. Dozens of phones captured every moment of the brief but spectacular display of fighting skill. Who are you?" Amber gasped, grimacing from the hold. "The same person I've always been," Jasmine replied calmly. "You just never bothered to look past what you wanted to see." Teachers finally pushed through the crowd. Jasmine immediately released her hold, stepped back with her hands visible, and calmly sat down to finish her lunch. "She attacked us," Amber shrieked, pointing at Jasmine while rubbing her wrist. "She's crazy." Principal Johnson surveyed the scene. 4 purple-tinted girls sprawled across the cafeteria floor and tables, while Jasmine sat quietly eating her sandwich. "My office. All of you. Now," he bellowed, pointing at Jasmine and the 4 bullies. As they marched through the hallways toward the administrative offices, whispers followed them like wildfire. Jasmine walked tall, her posture completely transformed from the meek, stumbling girl everyone thought they knew. Behind her, Amber and her friends shuffled along, their purple skin now complemented by red marks from where they'd hit tables, walls, and floors during their failed attack. "Did you see that? Where did she learn to fight like that? Did you get it on video? She didn't even throw a punch." The look on Amber's face. Principal Johnson separated them immediately upon arrival. placing Jasmine in his office while sending the 4 bullies to the conference room with Vice Principal Matthews. The gravity of the situation was clear from the grim expressions of the staff, who'd undoubtedly witnessed countless confrontations over the years, but nothing quite like this. "Miss Walker," Principal Johnson began as he closed his office door, "would you care to explain what just happened in my cafeteria?" Jasmine sat calmly, her hands folded in her lap. "They attacked me, sir. I defended myself. That was not standard self-defense, young lady. That was—" he struggled to find the words, "professional-level combat skills. Yes, sir, I'm a trained MMA fighter. I have been since I was 9 years old." The principal blinked, clearly recalibrating his assessment of the new student sitting before him. "And the purple condition afflicting Miss Richards and her friends? I suppose that's just a coincidence?" A ghost of a smile flickered across Jasmine's face. "I wouldn't know anything about that, sir." Principal Johnson leaned back in his chair, studying her. "Miss Walker, I've been an educator for 27 years. I know when I'm being played." He sighed deeply. "I also know when a student has been pushed too far." The principal steepled his fingers, his expression unreadable. "Miss Walker, fighting in school is grounds for immediate suspension regardless of the circumstances." Jasmine nodded, resigned. "I understand, sir. However," he continued, "from the multiple student videos already circulating, and yes, I'm aware of them, it appears you were indeed attacked first and used only defensive maneuvers." He pulled out another file. "And then there's this." He opened the folder to reveal printouts of incident reports, dozens of them, all involving Amber and her friends, all marked "resolved without action" or "insufficient evidence." "Did you know my daughter attended Westridge until last year?" Principal Johnson asked conversationally. Jasmine shook her head, unsure where this was going. "She transferred to private school after Amber Richards and her friends made my daughter's life so miserable that she developed anxiety so severe she couldn't walk through these doors without having a panic attack." His voice remained professional, but Jasmine could hear the underlying pain. "As her father, I wanted to intervene. As principal, with Miss Richards' parents on the school board and her uncle as superintendent, my hands were tied." He closed the folder with a decisive snap. "Sometimes the system fails students. Sometimes it takes someone willing to stand up to bullies to make people see what's been happening right under their noses." Principal Johnson stood and walked to the window overlooking the courtyard, where students were gathered in excited clusters, undoubtedly discussing what had transpired in the cafeteria. "I am going to issue you a formal warning for fighting on school grounds," he said finally. "It will go in your record. This is non-negotiable." "I understand," Jasmine repeated. He turned back to face her. "The school has a zero-tolerance policy for violence. Of course, we should also have a zero-tolerance policy for bullying, but some policies are more consistently enforced than others." The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. "Consider yourself warned, Miss Walker. Don't make a habit of it." As Principal Johnson opened his door to escort her out, Jasmine could see Amber's parents arriving at the front office, her mother's perfectly highlighted hair bouncing with indignation, her father already on his phone, likely calling the superintendent. "Mr. and Mrs. Richards," Principal Johnson greeted them coolly. "Just in time. We have much to discuss about your daughter's behavior." "Her behavior?" Mrs. Richards sputtered, pointing at Jasmine. This girl assaulted Amber. We want her expelled immediately." "Mrs. Richards, I have over 30 videos from different angles showing your daughter and her friends attacking Miss Walker without provocation. Miss Walker defended herself without throwing a single punch." His voice was calm but firm. "I suggest we discuss this in my office, after you've viewed the footage." As Jasmine walked past, Mrs. Richards recoiled slightly, as if expecting another display of fighting prowess. Mr. Richards, however, had gone pale, his phone call forgotten as one of the office assistants showed him a video on her computer monitor. Is this what really happened?" he asked, his authoritative voice suddenly uncertain. Jasmine left them there, stepping into the hallway just as classes changed. The normal bustle of students moving between rooms slowed, then stopped as everyone noticed her. For a moment, the hallway was silent, just as the cafeteria had been. Then someone started to clap. It began with a single person, Ethan, standing by his locker. Then another student joined in, and another. The applause spread down the hallway like a wave, punctuated by cheers and whistles. Students she'd never spoken to gave her thumbs up or respectful nods as she passed. By the end of the day, the school felt different. The hierarchy that had seemed so rigid and immutable that morning had been completely upended by lunch. Amber's throne in the cafeteria had been disassembled, with regular students now sitting in the space that had been forbidden territory for years. When the final bell rang, Jasmine found a crowd waiting at her locker. Rather than the fear this might have triggered that morning, she felt a calm curiosity as she approached. A sophomore girl stepped forward nervously. "Is it true you know martial arts? Like real fighting?" Jasmine nodded. "I've trained in mixed martial arts since I was 9. "Could you?" The girl hesitated, then pushed on. "Could you teach some of us? Just basic stuff for self-defense?" Before Jasmine could answer, more students chimed in. "That move you used on Amber, could anyone learn that? I recorded the whole thing to study it, but I can't figure out the technique. My little sister gets pushed around all the time. I'd love to show her how to stand up for herself." Jasmine looked at their eager faces. Many of them students who'd previously scurried away when Amber approached, who'd kept their heads down just like she had pretended to do. Now they were looking at her with something new in their eyes. Hope. "I'm not a certified instructor," Jasmine said carefully, "but I could show you some basic defensive moves. Nothing aggressive, just how to protect yourselves if someone comes at you." The excitement this generated was palpable. Plans were quickly made for an informal session at the park that weekend. As the crowd dispersed, Ethan approached with a barely suppressed grin. "So, championship fighter Jasmine emerges from hiding. Gotta say, it's a much better look on you than scared new girl." Jasmine laughed. "Feels better too. Hunching all the time was killing my back." "You know this changes everything, right?" Ethan glanced around at the transformed atmosphere of the hallway. "There's no going back to how things were." "Good," Jasmine said firmly. It needed to change. Meanwhile, the school grapevine worked with remarkable efficiency. By the next morning, everyone knew that Amber and her friends had been suspended for a week, a punishment many considered shockingly light given their actions, but still unprecedented in the history of their reign. The purple skin, however, was proving to be a much longer-lasting consequence. Despite their best efforts with makeup, which, as Ethan had predicted, only reacted with the compound to create an even more vibrant purple, the distinctive color persisted. Their absence from school only fueled the legend that was rapidly forming around the confrontation. The videos had spread far beyond Westridge High, reaching neighboring schools and even local news outlets. One particularly well-edited version had over 2 million views by Wednesday morning, with comments flooding in from around the country. Purple bullies get exactly what they deserved. Can we talk about how she didn't throw a single punch but still destroyed them? New student pretends to be weak, turns out to be MMA fighter is my new favorite genre. When Jasmine's father saw the videos, his initial anger quickly gave way to understanding. Staff Sergeant Walker had raised his daughter to stand up for what was right, even when it was difficult. "I wish you'd told me how bad it had gotten," he said as they sat at their kitchen table. "We made that promise thinking it would protect you, not leave you vulnerable. I kept it as long as I could," Jasmine assured him, "and I didn't hurt anyone." Her father snorted. Their pride might disagree. He shook his head with reluctant admiration. The purple thing, though, that was creative. Harmless but effective. I had help with that part, Jasmine admitted. Turns out I'm not the only one they've been tormenting. For the rest of the week, Jasmine adjusted to her new reality at Westridge High. No longer pretending to be clumsy, she moved with natural grace. No longer hunching to seem smaller, she stood at her full height. In PE class, where she'd previously fumbled and stumbled intentionally, she now participated fully, though she was careful not to show off. The weekend self-defense session in the park drew over 30 students. Jasmine kept it simple, focusing on basic blocks, proper stance, and how to escape common holds. The kinds of techniques that could help someone get away from a bad situation without escalating to violence. Remember, she told the group as they practiced, the goal isn't to fight. It's to be confident enough that people think twice about targeting you in the first place. By Monday, anticipation hung in the air like an electrical charge. Everyone knew Amber and her friends would be returning from suspension, and no one could predict exactly how they would handle their spectacular fall from social grace. When they finally appeared, the transformation was striking. Gone were the designer outfits and confident struts. The four girls shuffled through the front doors wearing hoodies, pulled up despite the warm weather. Their purple skin still visible despite layers of makeup. They kept their eyes down, a dramatic reversal from their previous behavior, and flinched whenever someone laughed nearby, assuming it was directed at them. They had planned to stay together for safety in numbers, but that strategy immediately backfired. As a group, they were instantly recognizable as the Purple Bullies from the viral videos. By mid-morning, they had separated, each trying to navigate the day with as little attention as possible. It didn't work. Whispers and pointed fingers followed them everywhere. Someone had created Purple Rain t-shirts with silhouettes of the four girls running from a single standing figure. Another student had changed the choir's sheet music for practice to include Purple People Eater and Deep Purple medleys. The cruelest irony was that they were now experiencing exactly what they had inflicted on others for years: the whispers, the laughter, the social isolation. Every insecurity they had weaponized against others was now turned back on them. By lunchtime, Vanessa was crying in the bathroom. Taylor had called her mother to pick her up early. Mackenzie had retreated to the library, hiding behind a book she wasn't reading. But Amber, the ringleader, the queen bee, had one final card to play. She cornered Jasmine at her locker, her purple-tinged face contorted with rage and humiliation. "You think you've won?" she hissed, keeping her voice low to avoid drawing attention. "My father is on the phone with his lawyer right now. We're suing you for assault, for defamation, for emotional distress. We're going to own everything your family has." Jasmine closed her locker calmly. "Are you threatening me, Amber?" "It's not a threat. It's what's going to happen." Amber's voice shook with barely controlled fury. "You'll regret ever crossing me." "I have 37 videos showing you attacking me first," Jasmine replied evenly. "I have witnesses who saw you cut my hair in the bathroom. I have documentation of every incident of bullying you've committed, not just against me, but against dozens of students over years." She stepped closer, not threateningly, but with quiet confidence. "If you want to go to court, we can go to court. Your family might have money and connections, but the truth has its own power." Amber's face paled beneath the purple tint. "You don't understand who my family is." "No, you don't understand." Jasmine cut her off. "This isn't just about me anymore. Look around you." She gestured to the hallway, where students moved freely, laughing and talking without the cloud of fear that had previously hung over them. "You ruled through intimidation. That only works when people are scared. No one's scared of you anymore, Amber." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Amber's face, as the reality of her situation truly sank in. Her social power had evaporated. The school dynamic she had controlled for years had fundamentally shifted overnight. "So what happens now?" she asked, her voice suddenly small. "That depends on you," Jasmine said. "The purple will fade in another week or so. Whether people's memories fade is up to you. You can transfer schools and start fresh somewhere else, or you can stay here and learn what it's like to be treated with the same respect you give others." Just then, a group of freshmen walked by. One of them spotted Amber and nudged her friend, both of them giggling before hurrying away. Amber's shoulders slumped as she watched them go. "It's not fair," she whispered. "No, it's not," Jasmine agreed. "But neither was what you did to everyone else." Later that afternoon, as Jasmine walked to her car in the student parking lot, she noticed Taylor sitting alone on a bench, staring at her phone. Unlike Amber, who had responded to humiliation with anger and threats, Taylor seemed simply lost. Jasmine hesitated, then changed direction to approach her. "Hey," she said. Taylor looked up, startled. When she recognized Jasmine, she visibly tensed. "If you're here to gloat—" "I'm not," Jasmine interrupted. "I just wanted to say, the purple will be completely gone soon. This doesn't have to define you forever." Taylor laughed bitterly. "Easy for you to say. You're the hero in this story. There are no heroes or villains in real life, Taylor. Just choices and consequences." Jasmine sat on the opposite end of the bench. "You chose to follow Amber. You chose to participate in hurting people. Those were bad choices." "I know that," Taylor muttered, surprising Jasmine with her admission. Over the next few weeks, the dynamic at Westridge High continued to evolve. Amber eventually transferred to a private school, unable to face the daily reminder of her fall from grace. Mackenzie returned to school after the purple had faded, keeping to herself and gradually rebuilding a much smaller, more authentic social circle. Vanessa surprised everyone by publicly apologizing during a school assembly about bullying awareness, an event that would have been unthinkable 2 months earlier. Though clearly nervous, she spoke honestly about getting caught up in group behavior and the relief she now felt being free from the pressure of maintaining a cruel social hierarchy. Most surprisingly of all, Taylor showed up to one of Jasmine's weekend self-defense sessions in the park. She stood at the back, watching quietly, and approached Jasmine afterwards. "I'd like to learn," she said simply. "Not to fight, just to be stronger in myself." The informal sessions eventually became an official school club, with Principal Johnson's enthusiastic approval. Self-defense and empowerment, they called it, open to any student who wanted to participate. Jasmine co-led it with a PE teacher who had some boxing experience, teaching not just physical techniques but also confidence, boundary setting, and conflict de-escalation. By the time the yearbook came out that spring, the purple incident had become school legend, referenced in senior quotes, inside jokes, and the unprecedented selection of purple as the theme color for prom. The social dynamics that had seemed so fixed and immutable at the beginning of the year had been completely transformed. On the last day of school, Jasmine cleaned out her locker to find a small envelope taped inside. Opening it, she found a note written in neat handwriting. "Thank you for showing me there's strength in being kind, not just in being feared. I won't forget the lesson." As she walked out of Westridge High for the summer, Jasmine reflected on how differently things had turned out from what she'd expected when she first arrived. She had kept her promise to her father for as long as she could. She had stood up for herself when necessary, and in doing so, she had helped change an entire school culture. Her father was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his truck with a proud smile. "Ready for summer training camp? Your old coach called again. Says he's got some tournaments lined up if you're interested." Jasmine grinned. "Definitely interested." She tossed her backpack into the truck. "But I want to keep teaching the self-defense classes too. We're thinking of opening them up to other schools next year." As they drove away, Jasmine looked back at Westridge High in the rearview mirror. The building hadn't changed, but almost everything inside it had. Sometimes justice came from standing your ground. Sometimes it came from revealing your true strength after being underestimated. And sometimes, as the fading purple tint on certain students had demonstrated so effectively, it came in unexpected colors. If you enjoyed this story of sweet karma and standing up to bullies, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and share it with others so they can learn and enjoy. See you in my next video.